Hey guys, how you doing? Derby here, and this is my Ultimate Weapon hard mode guide. Now, I just want everybody to realise that every single group and every single guild does this fight a bit differently, and this is just our method of doing this fight. So the first thing that comes is Gruda, and she does a AoE pushback. So the trick is to basically go behind Gruda. When she drops down from the air, she will face a certain way, and you want to move behind her and avoid her. At the same time, Ultimate Weapon then does Ifrit's pushback AoE that he always does. Again, the AoE from Ultimate is unavoidable, but you can avoid the AoE from Gruda. Now you can see that Gruda's Gale Winds start spawning up. The trick here is to wait until the AoE actually disappears and then turns grey. The second it turns grey, you then want everybody to run to the edge of the arena, because Titan now jumps down, and of course the further away you are from Titan, the less damage you take. Titan hard mode basics 101. Again, another Gruda is going to spawn, and just like before, you want to run behind Gruda so you can avoid the pushback, and the pushback is really annoying. It doesn't do much damage, but it's just genuinely annoying. You now want to go back onto Ultimate Weapon, and we are now about to begin the Plume phase. So firstly, Ifrit's plumes will spawn on the outside of the arena, followed by Titan's plumes in the middle of the arena. If you paid close enough attention, you would see that in the middle of all four of the Titan plumes, there is a sweet spot where you can avoid all four of the plumes. This is a very important spot, and please take note of this spot because you will need it for the further parts of this boss fight. This time around, however, Ifrit's plumes will now spawn in the middle of the arena, followed by Titan's plumes on the outside of the arena. These plumes are really easy to avoid, and no one should have any difficulty whatsoever avoiding them. You now want to go back onto Ultimate Weapon and keep up the DPS until the next set of plumes will spawn. Now, as you can see here, it is the exact same pattern as the first set of plumes. The plumes spawn on the outside, followed by Titan's ones in the middle. Now a set of eruptions will spawn. The reason why we split up our party into two groups like we have is so we have a 50-50 chance of having one eruption on each side of the arena. Once you have an eruption underneath you, which you can tell as you have a glow underneath your feet, you will run to the back of the room, then either run clockwise or anti-clockwise. This is to ensure that all of the eruptions are stacked at the back of the room and towards the edges. After this is over, you want to go back onto Ultimate Weapon and continue your DPS until you reach the next stage of the fight. Now you'll notice that Ifrit has in fact spawned. He is currently readying his charge attack, like what he does in Ifrit's hard mode. Before he charges, however, two sets of Ifrit's plumes will spawn and explode. The easiest way to avoid all of this is to stick to the edges of the arena, as Ifrit charges directly through the middle of the arena. He will do this twice. It is important to use the time while strafing out of the plumes to see which direction Ifrit will charge. After some time, another set of eruptions will come. Again, run to the back of the arena, then run clockwise or anti-clockwise to make sure the eruptions are all at the back of the arena. One thing I have not mentioned yet is the stacking debuff on the tanks. Ultimate Weapon puts a stack on whoever he is currently attacking. When a person has 5 stacks of this debuff, Ultimate Weapon can instantly kill this player. We usually have our tank switch over when the current main tank has 4 stacks. The reason why we switch at 4 stacks is because of an ability called Etheric Boom. Firstly, this pushes everyone to the edges of the arena, followed by spawning a set of bombs which are linked together. The trick is to have the current off tank to run into one of the linked bombs and take the hit. If no one takes the hit, the bombs will fuse together and wipe the party for 10k damage. It is important that the healers keep this tank at near full health, as he can get hit from anywhere between 2 to 4k depending if the tank has buffs up or not. A green ball will now spawn, and the player will have a marker on their heads. This player must now run away from this ball. The green ball will eventually explode for AoE damage. It is important that all players stay away from this ball, not only to avoid the AoE damage, but it can also explode on impact. These Magitech bits which have spawned fire lasers which you must avoid. It is best if one member of the party marks one of the Magitech bits so everyone can concentrate their DPS on it. You may now see massive AoE pulses on the ground. Once you see these pulses, you must run to the edges of the arena to take less damage. Why? If If you pay close enough attention, you will notice that the pulses go from red to blue. The blue parts of the AoE marks where it will be safest to go to take the least amount of damage. After this room-wide AoE has gone, go back and concentrate on DPSing the Magitech bits. Again, mark the targets if you have to, as this will concentrate your DPS to kill them faster. After this, you want to go back and DPS Ultima Weapon, and eventually 3 sets of bombs will spawn. Again, the current off-tank will run off, pop any cooldowns if he has them, and run into these bombs. Notice how the main tank has only 2 stacks of them. The switching of 4 stacks gives the off-tank enough time to take all of the bombs. It is best that all throughout the bomb phases that the rest of the party stay at the edges, move away from these bombs, and DPS Ultimate Weapon if they are ranged DPS. If you're melee DPSing like I am, it is best to wait until it is safe before you go back to Ultimate Weapon. Also throughout this phase, a green ball will appear. Just like before, if you have a green mark on top of your head, outrun the bomb and it will eventually explode. Now, another set of Magitech bits will appear, this time all around the edges of the arena. All players will go towards the edges and DPS the marked Magitech bit. 4 AoE pulses will now appear. Notice how this time around, the blue parts are in the centre of the arena. The trick here is to run to the edges to make sure that the centre of the room is clear of the lasers. Then once you see the AoE, run to the middle of the room. Remember that sweet spot I mentioned during Titan's Plumes? Well, that exact spot is where you will take the least amount of damage. It is unrealistic that you could get there, as a laser or 2 may go direct through the middle of the room, so instead, try to be as close as you can to this spot. Once you see the AoE explosion, you must immediately run to the edges of the arena, as the lasers will now be targeting the centre. Now everyone must go back and kill off the remaining Magitech bits. Once the Magitech bits are down, you're now on to the last stage of the fight. From here on, the fight is a DPS race. It is best to save all of your damage cooldowns, however, until the very last stage of the fight. Ultimate Weapon will now summon 2 green balls this time and mark 2 different players. Just like before, these players must outrun the balls to avoid this explosion completely. Ultimate Weapon will eventually spawn 4 sets of bombs. We decided to have the 2 tanks take the first 2 bombs at the same time. Then, these 2 tanks will either run to the left or right group. As the tank is running towards the rest of the party, one person from each side will take one of the last remaining bombs, exactly like how I did it, and not how the other side did it. I show you this video on purpose to demonstrate how little time you have to eat the bombs. These bombs are on a very short explosion timer, so no one must ever hesitate whatsoever to eating these bombs. The second you see the tank's bomb explode, you must all run and eat the next one straight away. One thing to note is that the more people that are in the impact of the explosion, the least amount of damage you will take. It is also possible that for all stages of the bombs, for the whole party to run in and eat the bombs together. It also appears that these bombs, however, have a certain range, as our bard somehow lived. If you have an explanation for this, please do comment why, as I'll be extremely interested to know the full mechanics of these bombs. You are now in a race against time, as Ultimate Weapon has a harder range at approximately 10 minutes. Burst your free LB right here and give Ultima everything you have. Burn down all of your cooldowns and just everything, completely destroy Ultimate Weapon. You must also watch out for the green balls, as the green balls do appear during this phase of the fight. And that's pretty much Ultimate Weapon hard mode, guys. The fight is actually really simple. It is just avoid the AoEs, tank and spank, and just DPS. The fight isn't really that hard once you get to know the mechanics whatsoever. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Comment if you have any different changes, comment if you have any different ways to handle the bombs, because there are so many different ways to do it. Yeah, thank you for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.